So many people race to prune their trees in the fall, but in fact, this could be the worst time of the year to prune your trees for most plant species. In this lesson, I'm going to explain to you why fall is the worst time, again, for most trees. In addition to the many benefits of pruning, how to prune, a discussion on pruning sealants, in addition to supporting university studies. Hi, my name is Charles Malky, biologist and plant expert with Ivory Organics, where we grow cool plants, and author of Saving the World with the Home Garden. The benefits of pruning are manifold. I'm just going to quickly list a few here, and then I'm going to give you examples here in my garden. And the first one is to control tree size. And another one is to increase yields, both flowers and fruit. A third is to improve fruit size and quality. And lastly is to improve your plant health. And again, and we started with this at the beginning, is that yes, pruning can actually improve the overall health and longevity and overall performance of your plant by pruning. Yes, cutting your tree can actually make them healthier. And that's something that you're gonna learn before the end of this lesson. So here we are in the canopy of our 10-in-1 fig tree, something that we created together on the Ivory Organics YouTube channel about 5, 6, maybe even 7 years ago. That's got 10 different flavors of figs on the footprint of just a single tree. So to be able to enjoy a lot of fruit, and in this case we got 10 different flavors in the footprint of a single tree, and again with all of the fruit within reach, this is a backyard orchard culture concept where figs generally want to grow at least 15 feet up to 30 plus feet. And again, through selective pruning throughout the year, you can accomplish a nice compact structure such as this. Let me share with you the contrast of what happens without selective pruning throughout the year. Let's go to the other side of the property. So here we are now in front of the Sweet Treat Pluerry. It's a cross between a cherry and a plum, and it's a organic hybrid genetic fruit tree that was created by Floyd Zager and available through Dave Wilson Nurseries network of nurseries that purchase trees from them. And the Sweet Treat Pluerry we have not pruned in about 18 months. And I purposely did it just to see what a semi-dwarf fruit tree unchecked can grow into. Check it out. So my reach is about 8 feet, and I would say we're easily at least 16 to 20 feet tall. And so one of the benefits of pruning, point number one, is controlling tree size. In this example, we've allowed the tree to get too far away. And to majorly prune the tree at this time is the wrong time. And here we are now in October. The tree, as you may be able to see, has just a few leaves left on it and is transitioning into fall. And if I were to prune it now, it's gonna create additional growth that's not gonna harden properly and turn into fruiting wood that's gonna maximize production by spring of next year. And that's one of the reasons why we are not gonna prune in October, and rather we're gonna wait for the ideal time for pruning, which I'm gonna get to in just a few short moments. So for point number one, which is when major pruning your plant, whether it be a rose or a fruit tree, you're gonna wanna wait until that last chance of frost date has passed your particular grow zone. So by strategically timing your pruning for that last chance of frost date, again, you're minimizing stress to your plant while also making sure that those wounds can begin healing as soon as possible. My general tip number two is that for wood that is under 1 year of age, you can prune at any time of the year. As you can see, here we are in October, and I'm pruning my iceberg roses to try to get them to push out some more growth and more blooms so we can enjoy one more round of blooms before this year ends. So this here is one of our climbing roses that we have near our front door. Just check out how beautiful the blooms are. Again, here we are mid-October, but there's an issue that requires pruning. So here we are now near the front door, and the plant is completely overgrowing this entrance section to our front door. And so we're gonna have to pull this back. And look at how much we're cutting. So for some of you, you might be thinking, that's pretty several feet that you're taking back, but bear in mind, all of this growth is new growth that just happened within the last about 2 and no more than 3 months. And if you wanna take a look at some more details in regards to what I'm doing, because by the time I'm done, you're not even gonna know that I even pruned it. What I'm doing is just following these leaves back. You can see that I pruned it right here last, right where I'm pointing. And all of this new growth has followed. I'm just gonna go a few leaves up and prune it like that. And from a distance, you're still gonna see leaves near the end. I've cut it about 1/4 of an inch away from the last leaf. And in there's a node that has a bud that's gonna be pushing out the next shoot. And the branch is gonna continue. Let's prune another one back so you can see. This here was the last prune that we've made. We're just gonna go a few leaves up and prune right there. And again, this is all minor pruning, part of general tip number 2. And you can see how fast we can get this plant back in check. The cool thing with these iceberg roses is I started the process about 2 weeks ago. So you can see the before and after. What I'm doing is simply deadheading. All of the spent or close to finished roses, I'm basically pulling back. And if you come in a little closer, you can see that there's some growth right behind these leaves where these roses have already, done the show. And we're simply pulling them back like so. And again, you can see that there's, for most of these, new growth coming out of these nodes. I'm trying to basically go about 1/4 of an inch above those nodes, but some of them don't have anything at all. Like this one here, I'm going back and you can see there's some nice buds, healthy roses. They've been well fed, and we're gonna talk about feeding later. And all we're doing is simply cleaning these up. We've done a ton of educational lessons on rose pruning at the right time of the year over the years, and I'll put some of those lessons in the video description below. And when we're done with these roses, again, come late January, early February, there's only a few primary trunks that we leave, and these plants are cut down by almost at least 60 to 80%. The goal right now is to keep these roses looking their best during the coolest times of the year that's approaching, and to time that major prune at a time where it can rebound quickly. So as you can see, the roses still look pretty nice, even though they've just been pruned. I've still got a little more ways to go. But a couple weeks ago, I pruned this entire section of our iceberg roses, and you can see how they're rebounding with growth. This here is a new bloom. More blooms, and just check this out over here. As you can see, new bloom, new buds, new growth, and we're gonna again get to celebrate another round of beautiful blooms between now and December, and then that'll just be within a month of the major prune that we're gonna do to these roses. So over here we're next to our pygmy palms. They're one of the slowest growing of palm trees, and they're also pretty compact and stay short for its entire life. On average, these trees after about 10 to 20 years can grow maybe 10 to 15 feet. Again, on average, there are exceptions to the rule. As you can see, all of the leaves on this side of the walkway, I've pruned them tight. So as they reach into the walkway, and this here is the frond tip, I'll sometimes remove the tip just to keep it in its grow zone and it doesn't encroach on our walkway. And then something else I'll do as it gets more and more compact is I'll come into the tree, and you can see here with prunes that we've done in the recent past, you can see all of these have been cut back by me, yours truly. And here we are now cutting off some of the fruit. Sometimes I like keeping it because they're beautiful and ornamental as well. And we're gonna thin the crown like so. So we've simply removed about 10 to 15 palm fronds, and what we've done now is we've improved the light penetration and also the air circulation within the tree, which is overall going to improve the health and disease resistance of the tree. And personally, it also improves the visibility, which is important to me and my family as well. So my third general helpful tip is a concept known as summer pruning. And even though we're here in October, summer pruning typically follows the harvest of your fruits. The goal with summer pruning is that after your fruit harvest, the goal is to follow with a light prune, and light being that growth that's within a year, even if it's several feet over the summer months, you're gonna wanna bring back in check so that the majority, if not all of the branches are back within reach, if that's the goal, or whatever the tree structure is, and you can now get it back in check and the growth where it should be. So as it goes into dormancy over the winter, those branches can harden with the flower buds in time for a maximum bloom come spring with fruit set. So what we're gonna do today following this harvest is get some of those tallest branches back within reach. So here I am now between two different flavors of apples that we've grafted onto a single rootstock. Over here is a greenish red variety that we just picked together, and it's a childhood favorite apple that I grew up with no name. And then to the left of me is the Granny Smith apple, these green apples that won't ripen for about another month and a half. Another concept, part of the backyard orchard culture concept, is enjoying successive ripening. So in the footprint of a single tree, I'm able to enjoy several varieties and flavors of apples, and at the same time enjoying them at different times of the year. So that same footprint of a tree is offering apples for several months compared to just a single month of apples. The backyard orchard culture is a concept you should bear in mind when planning your backyard landscape. And now what we're gonna do is, again, we're gonna go with our pruners, and we're only cutting, and that's the reason I'm not using a saw here, is we're only pruning that growth that happened this past year. So wood that's less than a year old. Again, my height is 6 feet, my reach is 8, and I'm basically pulling all of those branches that are above 8 feet down. And the goal being is that the growth is going to be within 8 feet. So when it comes to spring bloom, all of those blooms are within 8 feet. And that means the fruit set is going to be within my reach as well. So what we're going to do is, again, I'm just reaching. This here would be 8 feet, this tip over here, but I still want to strengthen it a little bit. This here was 2 years growth. This here was last year's growth. And I'm simply just going to cut that in half like so, just to strengthen it, just because I saw it like moving a little bit too much in the wind. This entire branch here is coming back like so. And while we're pruning, we're picking the ripe apples. Notice we're not going to be pruning on the Granny Smith side, as these leaves are still necessary for the ripening of those fruit. And again, we're not doing any major pruning as well. There's still a lot of leaves to make the sugars that'll support the remaining fruit on the tree. What's happening when you prune the tree is, keep in mind that there's a root system that's supporting this above ground tree. If the tree is allowed to grow to its maximum height and the roots are at their maximum also size, what will typically happen is there's going to be some root death, as you've witnessed in the above tree canopy, where sometimes branches die also. And what happens is that the roots can no longer adequately support the above ground structure. By pruning, you're making sure that the above ground structure, what we see here, the tree, is sufficiently supported by that root structure that's below the ground. I always, even if it's a plant that they do not recommend any pruning to, one comes to mind is citrus. Most citrus trees do not require pruning, but pruning again can help increase fruit size, fruit quality, and also help keep your tree in the ideal size that you want it to be. But citrus is one of those trees that a lot of research will say pruning is not necessary. But if you can prune it back by even as little as 5 and 10% per year, you'll actually get to enjoy a much healthier, much more vigorous, much more happy looking tree, because those roots are easily supporting 95% instead of having a root structure where, again, sometimes there's plant death within the tree structure. Similarly, there's root death below the ground, whether it's caused by gophers or moles, or just simple random chance disease that happened below the ground that's damaging that root system. And now it can no longer adequately support the above ground tree, and that's when the tree starts expressing disease and stress, among other issues. And naturally, if the roots can't support the above ground structure, there's no way you're going to enjoy quality fruit as well. So that is just some of the benefits that pruning can offer the plants on your property. And here I am alongside one of my favorite roses, known as the purple splash climbing rose, that we've got here attached to our gazebo. And as you can see, it's way overgrown. Some people might see this as being years of growth, when in fact it's just a few months of growth. What we're going to want to do is remove all of these rose hips. These are all basically the fruiting bodies. All of its resources right now are going into the making of seeds, which is the next generation for the plant. But if we can remove this, instead it'll go into more growth and more flowering, instead of investing its resources towards basically making the next generation. And we're going to simply prune it back like so. And I'm gonna share with you just a little sneak peek of some of the beauty that's still in this rose, as you might see over here, but I'm gonna give you a quick close-up after I clean it up. And you can see it's been a while. Look at these rose hips. They're all turning, I'll bring this a little closer to you so you can see. You can see they're turning orange. I've still got some more rose hips to take out, a few more details, but as you can see, the majority of the overgrowth has been cleaned up. The vine is now back in check, and just check out now these blooms. If you can come in a little closer, this is called a purple splash. It's a purple rose with a splash of white paint throughout. Such a pretty plant. And now we've got a chance here in mid-October for another, hopefully, round of blooms before the end of the year. At which point, again, as we've already mentioned earlier, by late January, early February, we'll do the primary major pruning of the year and enjoy the structure for another year. So here we are with our passion fruit vine. As you can see, there's plenty of fruit up above. Mid-October, still blooming, still setting fruit. And when these passion fruit are ripe, they simply come down to the ground, and these passion fruit are, in my opinion, ready to eat. Some people wait another day or two or three for them to begin to wrinkle, and then the tartness subsides and the sweetness just gets amplified. And as you can see, I'm able to walk around this passion fruit vine quite easily. And again, through pruning. If I didn't prune, I wouldn't be able to get under the structure at all. And so as these vines come down, I simply keep them in check like so. And this actually encourages more growth from up above. And with more vines, we get more flowers, and that obviously means more fruit with proper care. So this here is the beautiful Parfionca pomegranate. It's one of several varieties of pomegranates that are selected for being virtually seedless. But in fact, the seeds are so small, for some of these varieties, undetectable. Imagine that. Most of us are grown with the wonderful variety pomegranate, which has a medium crunchy seed in there, which most, especially young people, don't enjoy chewing through. Imagine now there's varieties that are, again, considered virtually seedless. This is one of them, called the Parfionca pomegranate. In addition to the Parfionca pomegranate, we've got behind me the Ariana and the Desertini. These are three varieties of virtually seedless pomegranates, and they are rated among some of the tastiest varieties of pomegranates in the world. And what we've done in this very narrow stretch of real estate is we've grown them in the espalier fashion, similar to growing grapes, as most of you are familiar with. In the width of only about maybe 2 feet, we're enjoying 3 full-size trees. As you can see, my reach, if I were to stand up on this retaining wall, my reach is 8, and these plants are about 10 feet tall. And I've, again, through selective pruning and training, as you can see, these tips have been all individually pruned throughout the years, like so. If they come into the walkway, I simply, prune them back like this and bring it back. And as it approaches the house, I might prune this. And this is all, again, less than a year's worth of growth. For those of you interested in integrating pomegranates into your landscape, this is an excellent opportunity come February to get the cuttings off of this tree. More details will be announced on February 1st of 2024 on how to get your hands on these 3 delicious variety pomegranates into your backyard landscapes. And February is an excellent time of the year to get your hands on cuttings that you can quickly root and have these delicious flavors in your backyard orchard as well. So I promised a lesson on citrus, and so here we go. Just as we explained all the growth that's under 1 year, as you can see, there's a lot of growth that's coming into our patio. So here we are, just pruning. We're going basically to the desired area that we want to prune the plant back to. We're finding the next leaf node and pruning a 1/4 inch above it. And we're going to continue that exact principle throughout, bringing the tree back into check. And just check out all of these fruit that we have from these. This is going to be the beginning of the season. Here we are now in October with the first ripe lemon, and then we've got all of these other sizes that'll continue fruiting basically from October, November, all the way through about June, July, August before it slows down again. So there's only about 2 or 3 months that this Eureka lemon tree does not provide fruit. This is grafted onto a semi-dwarf rootstock. Unchecked, it'll easily grow to 15 feet. My reach is 8. As you can see, there's a little bit more growth I can take off the top, but otherwise 99% of the fruit are all within reach with this managed shape. So you can't talk about pruning without also talking about whitewashing. Most professional growers, commercial growers will say the day you plant your tree is the day you whitewash your trees with the Ivory Organic brand products. These are OMRI certified for organic commercial orchards and backyard growers that want to grow the healthiest plants. And again, the time for whitewashing is several times, strategic times, that I want to share with you. So the first one is the day you plant your tree is the day you whitewash your tree. And the goal is you're basically curbing weather extremes. Another helpful tip that most people don't know is when is the right time for painting your trees in the year. And again, most of the commercial growers across America will typically whitewash their trees in the fall to protect their plants from a phenomenon known as winter sun scald, which I'm going to talk about with a university study. Another important time for whitewashing your trees is going to be after summer pruning. Now that you've opened the canopy, but light hours are still 14 hours and it's hot. And if you're letting too much light in a structure, again, we're looking at the tree trunk and lower branches that were once shaded by the canopy and now it's exposed to too much sun and light, they can crack, causing harm and burn to the plant, whether it be first, second, and third degree burn. One of my favorite examples I've shared with you is an orange tree that suffered third degree sunburns, but we've done examples also with figs and roses and plum trees, apple trees, and so much more. So again, all plants are susceptible to sunburn and whitewashing them can protect them in addition to your roses. And now on to the university studies that I want to share with you. The University of Arkansas says winter is the most important time for whitewashing your trees. The paragraph I want to focus on in this article reads as follows. Death of cells and bark is caused by rapid fluctuations in temperature. Research suggests that during the winter, frozen tissue on the south or south side of the trunk, which is also being heated by the sun, thaws and then rapidly refreezes. This rapid fluctuation in temperatures are most likely to occur near sunset or during the day as clouds pass, blocking the sun exposure on the trunk. And the goal is, again, that by whitewashing, again, you're curbing the weather extremes and you're preventing the plant from overheating during those warm winter days that then go back into freeze. And that fluctuation causes a stress to the plant that shortens its life and will certainly affect the overall blooms and fruit set that following year if it's a fruit tree. The next university study I want to share with you is the University of Tennessee, where they recommend November, December as the ideal time for whitewashing. The few sentences I want to share with you from the University of Tennessee read as follows. In reality, pruning paint may impede healing and encourage growth of raw organisms and insect infestation. Rather than seal out infection, wound dressings often seal in moisture and decay. And these are products that they refer to being, whether they be tar-based products or latex-based products. And unlike those products, which again are water impermeable, waterproof products that trap in moisture when applied to your plants and trees, causing underlying rot, Ivory Organics dries on porously, and by being porous allows for a much healthier wound dressing to then keep out pests and disease from entering, while allowing the plant to heal naturally over the product, which is based on traditional methods of limestone and mica, which is clay, and milk proteins, which create a bond that's about as long lasting as paint, in addition to diatomaceous earth, which naturally also keeps a lot of pests from wanting to pass through the products as it can damage their exoskeletons and shorten their lives. Additionally, Ivory Organics has 7 natural oils, which include cinnamon, clove, castor, peppermint, rosemary, and spearmint. And these oils are naturally insect and disease resistant products that will help maximize the health of those pruned branches to overall improve the health of those plants that are protected. So in summary, Ivory Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard can protect your plants in the winter from winter sun scald, in the summer from summer sunburn, following your summer pruning, at the time of planting, as again, most professional orchard growers do. And also you can use it as a total plant protection spray as well, helping to curb weather extremes while also aiding in transplant shock. And lastly, it also serves as an insect rodent repellent protection as well for those growers, especially fruit trees across America during the winter months. Rodent girdling is a big issue. In the Bay Area here in Northern California, it is a year-round issue with nursery that offer our products, and we're offering protection to those trees as well. So girdling is a phenomenon where the rodents get hungry during the winter since there's a lack of seeds and fruit, and they'll begin girdling on the tree trunk to get to the underlying saps. Ivory Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard can also protect your plants against that additional environmental stress. I will continue with more detailed pruning demos in late January and early February when we enter the prime and we're ahead of the curve for most of the United States. Additionally, I will be including lessons on pruning lessons I've done in the past in the video description below for your convenience. If you've enjoyed this educational lesson, please give us that thumbs up, share us with your gardening friends and family, and if you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit that push bell notification to stay connected to all of our educational content as soon as it comes available. And as always, keep growing with Ivory Organics and wishing you all happy gardening.